Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We're going to continue on our journey, but today is off chain, off my Markov chain that takes one or two multiple characters, at least one from the previous day's phrase, and use it in another phrase so that you can see the comparison of the same character used in different contexts. So today we're doing a little bit off chain, but actually it's actually on the chain. Yesterday we talked about 没带含屏 is 没带 a little bit black pigmented like brushed eyebrows contains this frowning action. So that was considered an expression that's kind of intriguing to people, probably. That's on ancient times female face. 眉黛含屏 because only females decorate their eyebrows. So 眉黛 gotta be a female's eyebrows. And then they contain a little bit expression over there. That's kind of a little bit eyebrows squishing together. That's a big deal back then. So frowning. And we actually talk about the eyebrows here. Again, a long expression. Let me walk you through. 两弯似蹙非蹙罥烟眉. So it talks about the shape of, or the shape and also the action of the eyebrows. Okay, yes, eyebrows can be very active on your face. 两弯, okay, two. 两 comes from this horizontal line as E is our number one. It's just one unit. And then you have this vertical line coming down, kind of visually split this one into two spaces, right? And it further gives you an arch of a space. And within each space, there is this kind of a human figure or whatever is an object within each side. So that kind of visually give you a look of something split into two, kind of a pair, kind of a identical replica of things, just two shares, two copies of that. So that's our concept of liang. And of course, like liang, even if human face are not exact, or human body not exactly symmetrical, right? Nobody got a perfectly symmetrical face, like a mirror image of a face. Like nobody is that exact, but overall it's kind of similar, right? Your left face and your right face got to look kind of similar. So that's why we use liang instead of two. Two is just two individuals, unrelated or related. It's just generic two. But the liang means it's a pair. It's something somewhat similar, right? It's from one and then produced two copies of that. So used on a person's face, two eyebrows, liang is very appropriate. One depict the shape of the arcs of the eyebrows, because Chinese, that's the one thing, Chinese versus English, that Chinese become wordier version. Because normally English like to have smaller filler words thrown somewhere to make it grammatically correct. But the main points are already there. And maybe, I don't know, at least 30% of the message over there are facilitating this language connecting process. But in English, I mean, in Chinese, mostly we just give you the essential words. We skip those filler words. We give you the main core, the meat of the language, right? But this is one aspect of Chinese that's more wordy. We actually give a measurement of unit to every single quantity. So when we say two, right, or a pair, like English, you just have a pair. You imagine the rest of what that kind of a pair it is. But in Chinese, we have to give you a very specific unit of measurements of, okay, what this pair, like two, how that looks. It looks two arches, 两弯. And this is kind of a creativity of the language user, because they may have different expressions of eyebrows, right? But here, one, because in Chinese we also use that arc or curve this word on the moon. So when we say 两弯, in Chinese users' mind, that's automatically linked to the crescent, because one normally used on the moon, the crescent moon as well. So that's the beauty of the language, because we use the same unit of measurement on different objects. And now here it's applying on the eyebrows, and then automatically that moon, crescent moon image will plug in. It's a subliminal, subconscious message like embedded in this character one. And okay, just to look at it, what that is. The bottom is our archery, is our bow, because bow was commonly used, I don't know, in ancient time, probably not so removed from the hunter-gatherer society. So the hunting, major hunting tool probably back then is bow shooting. So that's the, before you have guns or any fancy contemporary weaponries, archers, bows and arrows are the most effective and most commonly used. So images of bow are often incorporated into language making. So this is a bow, and then this symmetrical. I like this is symmetrical images over there. This is actually means okay, this thing, like a three things dripping. So that's our fabric, kind of a fabric draping. And then we have two circles linked on a string. That's kind of some knots on top of the fabric. So together, it means something are tied together. So we have tied together, and we eventually actually use that as a thread, kind of a strong thread, because it got knots on them, kind of a reinforcement to make the thread more durable, so to speak. So we have two of that. And then we have the middle, which actually about speaking. So I don't know why speaking is related to archery. Maybe back then, shooting arrows need to, like, somebody give you a signal to tell you when to shoot an arrow. I don't know why exactly, but it could also be like, a symbolizing of a person, because this is a mouth and tongue, and then the messages, the language over there, it could be used as a symbol of a person. So it's a person pulling the strings on the bow. So that's the kind of create this arch of this the thread. When it's taut, it's a street, right? So when you pull it, when a person is involved in the middle of it, it's going to be arched. So that's our origin of arc. So 两弯 and 似蹙非蹙 means looks like frowning, but not exactly frowning. Is it frowning? So this ambiguity, 似蹙非蹙. So this is 似 something, 非 something. This ambiguity adds instantly some interest to this visual of this pair very expressive eyebrows. Like, is it frowning or not frowning? You cannot tell. So 似 means look like. Similarly, we have a human figure on the left and some twists and turns of a string over there. And this string, according to some scholar, means action, or means used on something. So I don't exactly know how this figure, human figure, connected with this action, this act, this use. Combined means it's a similar. So that's kind of a jumpy point of the language. So maybe one day I can find an explanation why language creators think that way. Pair this together means something look like something else. And fei, you see, this is a symmetrical, exactly symmetrical. And originally it was used to depict a pair of wings. So birds have two wings, right? That's a symmetrical. And in this concept of this kind of looking like that, the opposite, so that gives us a meaning of it's one side, not the other side, or it's the opposite side. I don't know if that makes sense. So fei is a negation. It's like, is it this way or that way? So it's that kind of negation. It's a mirror image of something, and it's a negation of its mirror image, so to speak. Okay, and 醋 is we have this 足. Okay, we talked about this. It's our symbol for food. We eventually abstracted into only 3 toes on the food, and this is the arch of the food. And somehow the kneecap was placed on top of that. So the whole thing means your knee from the kneecap down, that part, portion of your leg, and eventually that means the full leg. You know, the function of your food. And then the top, you can see a lot of spiky things. So this structure with kind of spike, sharp, spiky things are related to ancient weaponry, like I know very little about. So the whole thing is, this 醋 actually means walking in smaller steps, but quickly walking in smaller steps. So this smaller, high frequency walking with your foot moving inches forward in higher frequency kind of walking, eventually from that motion of walking to like a spatially squished. So that relates to the frowning, in that there's 2, because of your eyebrows normally just lay on each side. Nobody, like one eyebrow don't really talk or interact with the other eyebrow, right? They have their own living space, but when they're squished together, they can become compacted. That's when frowning happens, and that borrowed from the meaning of this walking in small, quick steps. Okay, I hope I did justice to the word. 两弯似蹙非蹙. And then this eyebrow start to be compared to kind of spiraling smoke. 罥烟眉, 罥 actually came from the practice of making a net. Okay, so this is just a visually net. I mean, even for contemporary net, you look, this is the structure, right? That's cross, that's our net. And then the bottom, just like that, is our thread or fabric or cables, like, you know, a yarn. So something related to ropes that holding stuff together. So roping and netting, they go together. You kind of get the image, the material used in that. And then the bottom here is a collar of ancient times collar that looks like this, right? Ancient times don't have the closure as contemporary clothing. Like we just have pullover here today for me. But ancient times, they have this one side of collar, kind of like a wrap dress in contemporary clothing. So one collar is overlaying on top of the other one. That's the most commonly seen ancient collar style. And then this is I interpret it as the head, and then have a cone-shaped head. So this is somebody who's working outdoor. I have to, you know, kind of, there's before sunscreen, right? They have to protect the skin. So this cone-shaped head signifies that this is somebody who is working outdoor. And I don't know, this is some sort of utensil that used to making net. So the whole image is like a net making person use ropes making the net, right? It's like a picture of this whole process of who use what and result in another big thing. So the whole thing is net making. And this net making eventually is used to mean things are kind of knit together, mesh together, and entangled. And this entangling paired with smoke, because if you observe how a smoke float in the air, they kind of going kind of like this, right? At least that's visually the kind of hard to predict their exact, because easily they can be blown by the wind and direct, like all of a sudden change directions. It's hard to predict, but if undisturbed, just in a space, this visual smoke was kind of spiraling, like going back and forth in this way, right? So that entangling of nest making used to describe the kind of the state or the motion of the smoke. And the smoke came from the fire on the left side. That's kind of fire main body. And then you have left and right, two sparkles from the main body. That's of a fire. And the right side, you can view it as the device of the making the fire on the ground with some sort of container over here. And then the smoke kind of going, spiraling up. I don't know. It's a sort of visual representation of the like a visually seen air coming from the fire. So fired air is what this is about. So that's a smoke. So we have spiraling smoke eyebrows. Interesting way to describe a female eyebrow. Okay, so how it looks here is a zoom up view of the same Lin Daiyu, the character that's on an 80s TV series. That's a period drama. Red Chamber Dream is the name of the drama. Basically, it's a love triangle and the whole family's ups and downs. And this is one main character that cries a lot, has a lot of inner world conversations with the main protagonist, a boy. So one of this is one in that love triangle thing, and this depiction of 两弯似蹙非蹙罥烟眉 is dedicated to her. So this is how her eyebrow looks, and I guess this spiraling smoke eyebrow, like you can envision it on the eyebrow of hers, is it's not like a contemporary thick, bold, in your face kind of eyebrow, but it's very subtle. It's almost like a floating on the face. And just look at the face. It's our 80s Chinese TV production crew's imagination of female face of 300 or 400 years ago, right? So that's a kind of, according to this line, 两弯似蹙非蹙罥烟眉, the visual depiction of that kind of expression of the eyebrow and how the eyebrow it looks. It looks like smoke floating in the air. It's hard to catch, hard to, hard to concrete, put it into exact shape. But also it's hard to pin down the expression, like are you frowning or not frowning here? But the two arcs of the eyebrows are in this unsettled state of being, and that kind of intrigues the generations of readers of the story. Like everybody would imagine what kind of eyebrows that is. So I simply translate it as a frowning. Parenthesis means like we're not sure if it's frowning, and smoky eyebrows. All right, cash into the currency of thinking by one word a day. I will do the second line tomorrow. All right, see you another day.